Your brain treats a mounting pile of unread emails with the exact same biological urgency as a predator stalking you through the tall grass. Think about that for a second. Evolutionarily, we are wired for survival. Our ancestors survived because their brains were hyper-tuned to threats. But in the modern world, the threats we face aren't tigers or rival tribes. They are laundry baskets, PDF attachments, and unwashed dishes from a kitchen sink. If you've ever sat on your phone for 3 hours scrolling through short-form videos while staring at a 5-minute task you know you need to do, you aren't lazy. You're experiencing a cognitive mismatch that is paralyzing your productivity. You are in a state of high alert over a low-stakes task, and that friction is what makes a simple chore feel like a mountain. The weight of the invisible to-do. Why does a task that takes 60 seconds feel like it weighs 50 pounds? It's because your brain doesn't see the task. It sees the implication of the task. When we look at a messy desk, our eyes see paper and pens, but our prefrontal cortex, the logical part of the brain, sees a failed system. It sees hours of organization, the fear of losing something important, the exhaustion of decision-making, and the guilt of letting it get this way in the first place. We aren't procrastinating on the cleaning. We are procrastinating on the negative emotions associated with the mess. This is the cognitive load theory in action. Every small thing you leave undone stays open in your mental browser. Just like a laptop with 50 tabs open, your brain's processing speed starts to lag. You feel heavy because your RAM, your working memory, is full of unfinished loops. When your mental RAM is maxed out, even the smallest new request feels like it's going to crash the entire system. The science of the wall of awful. There's a concept called the wall of awful. Every time we fail at a task or feel judged for not doing it, we add a brick to a metaphorical wall. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a neurological pattern of avoidance. Brick 1, shame. Why can't I just be normal and do this? You compare yourself to others who seem to breeze through life and you feel defective. Brick 2, guilt. I'm letting people down. You think about the person waiting for that email or the roommate who has to look at your mess. Brick 3, anxiety. What if I do it wrong? Even if it's a simple form, the fear of making a mistake creates a barrier. Brick 4, past failure. I tried to get organized last Tuesday and failed by Wednesday. Eventually, the task, let's say responding to a text from a friend, is hidden behind a 10-foot wall of emotional baggage. Looking at the wall is exhausting. Climbing it feels impossible. So we stay on the other side, paralyzed, which only adds more bricks. To make things easy again, we have to stop trying to power through the wall with sheer willpower and start dismantling the bricks one by one. The myth of willpower. Most of us were raised to believe that the solution to procrastination is simply trying harder. We think willpower is a bottomless well we can tap into if we just have enough discipline. But science tells us otherwise. Willpower is a finite resource, often referred to as ego depletion. Every decision you make, from what to wear to what to eat for breakfast, saps a little bit of that energy. By the time you get to that small task in the afternoon, your battery is at 5%. Trying to use willpower to overcome the wall of awful is like trying to start a car with a dead battery by screaming at the engine. It doesn't work. Instead of relying on power, we need to rely on mechanics. We need to change the way the task interacts with our brain. Strategy 1, the 2-minute rule, modified. You've probably heard of the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. It's a staple of productivity systems like getting things done. But here is the catch. For a brain that feels heavy, even 2 minutes can feel like an eternity. When you're in a state of paralysis, 2 minutes is a lie your brain tells you to make you feel worse. Let's try the 5-second launch. When you identify a small task, don't think about the results or the duration. Think only about the physical movement required to start. If the task is write the essay, the movement is open the laptop. If the task is fold the laundry, the movement is touch one shirt. By focusing on the physical micro-action, you bypass the emotional center of the brain, the amygdala, which is screaming about how much work the whole project will be. You aren't doing the task, you are just moving your hand. This reduces the activation energy required to start. In chemistry, activation energy is the minimum energy needed to trigger a reaction. In life, your activation energy is often too high because you're looking at the mountain, not the first step. Strategy 2. Closing the open loops. Every unfinished task is a Zeigarnik effect trigger. This is a psychological phenomenon where our brains remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks much better than completed ones. It's why you can remember a waiter's order perfectly until the food is delivered, and then it vanishes from your mind. Our modern lives are full of undelivered orders. This creates a constant background hum of anxiety. It's like a low-frequency noise you don't realize is there until it stops. To fix this, we need to externalize the load. If you can't do the task right now, you must park it. Writing it down on a physical piece of paper, not a digital app where it can be buried under notifications, tells your brain, I have recorded this. You can stop reminding me now. This immediately clears up mental bandwidth. Think of your brain as a whiteboard. Every small task is a mark on that board. If you don't erase them, eventually there's no room to think. Writing a list isn't just about memory, it's about delegating the memory to the paper so your brain can return to its natural state of calm. Strategy 3. Lowering the bar to the floor. We often fail because our minimum viable effort is set too high. We're perfectionists in disguise. We think if we can't clean the whole room to a professional standard, there's no point in picking up one sock. We think if we can't write 1,000 words of brilliant prose, we shouldn't open the Word document at all. This is all or nothing thinking, and it is the primary engine of the wall of awful. To make things easy again, you have to give yourself radical permission to do a bad job. Write a terrible first paragraph, wash just 3 forks, and leave the rest. The goal here isn't completion. The goal is breaking the seal of stillness. Once you move, the friction of starting disappears. Physics tells us that an object in motion stays in motion. You just need to be the object that nudges itself into a slow roll. Tell yourself, I am going to do this for 60 seconds, and I am allowed to do it poorly. Paradoxically, once you start doing it poorly, the heaviness lifts, and you often find the energy to do it well. Strategy 4. Environment design and friction. Sometimes things feel heavy because your environment is designed to distract you. Your brain is a path of least resistance machine. It evolved to conserve energy, which in the 21st century means it will always choose the easiest dopamine hit available. If your phone is in your hand and your textbook is across the room, the phone wins every time. It's not a character flaw, it's biology. To combat this, you need to create high friction zones for distractions and low friction zones for tasks. For distractions, put your phone in a drawer in another room. Delete the social media apps so you have to log in via a browser every time. Make it hard to be distracted. For tasks, put your running shoes on top of your phone the night before. Open your study notes and leave them on your pillow. If you make the easy choice the right choice, you save your willpower for the actual work. You want to make it so that starting requires 0 decisions. If you have to find your shoes, find your headphones, and find a playlist, you've already used up your starting energy. If the shoes are already on your feet, the headiness of the run disappears. The role of dopamine and the reward circuit. We also need to talk about why our brains crave the scrolling over the doing. It's all about the dopamine hit. Dopamine isn't actually about pleasure, it's about anticipation and pursuit. When you scroll through a feed, your brain is constantly rewarded with new information. Small tasks like taking out the trash have a very delayed and very small dopamine reward. To make small tasks feel lighter, we need to front-load the reward. This is called temptation bundling. You only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while you are doing the dishes. You only get that specific coffee if you are sitting down to do your taxes. By pairing a heavy task with an immediate reward, you trick your brain's reward circuitry into wanting to start. The anatomy of resistance. We have to understand that resistance is a compass. Usually the thing that feels the heaviest is exactly the thing that once finished will provide the greatest release of pressure. Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art calls this the resistance. It is a negative force that kicks in the moment we move toward growth or order. When you feel that weight in your chest, that, I don't want to, recognize it for what it is. A signal that your brain is overcomplicating the process. It is imagining a mountain when there is only a molehill. We make things easy again by shrinking our world. Don't look at the week, don't look at the day, don't even look at the hour. Look at the next 10 minutes. Can you survive 10 minutes of a boring task? Almost certainly. Anyone can do anything for 10 minutes. Why we get stuck in the waiting room. Have you ever had an appointment at 4 p.m. and because of that you feel like you can't do anything all day? You sit on the couch, unable to start a project or even enjoy a movie because you are waiting. This is waiting mode. We feel heavy because we are holding our breath, waiting for the big event. Our brain treats the upcoming appointment as a block that prevents any other flow. The antidote to waiting mode is task integration. Instead of seeing the day as a series of rigid blocks, see it as a flow. Use transition anchors. Tell yourself, while the coffee is brewing, I will send one email. Or, while I'm waiting for this video to render, I'll put away 5 items in this room. By anchoring a small, heavy task to a small, easy habit that is already happening, the heavy task hitches a ride on the momentum of the easy one. You aren't starting a new task, you're just adding a tiny bit of weight to an already moving car. The power of done is better than perfect. A huge reason small tasks feel heavy is the perfectionism trap. We feel that if we respond to an email, it has to be the perfect, most professional response ever written, so we put it off. If we clean the kitchen, it has to be spotless, so we don't start. But for 90% of small tasks, done is 100% better than perfectly unstarted. If you're a student or a young professional, your biggest asset is momentum. Momentum is built on a string of good enough completions. When you finish a task, no matter how poorly you think you did it, your brain gets a completion signal. This signal lowers your overall stress levels and makes the next task feel lighter. Success is a snowball effect. The first handful of snow is hard to pack together and it's heavy for its size. But once it starts rolling, it picks up more snow with almost zero effort. Your goal today isn't to be a superstar, it's just to pack that first snowball. Overcoming the decision fatigue. Sometimes the heaviness isn't the task itself, but the choices surrounding it. I need to exercise is a heavy task because it contains a dozen hidden decisions. Where should I go? What should I wear? What workout should I do? How long should it be? By the time you've answered those questions, you're exhausted. To make it easy, automate the decisions. Have a Tuesday workout that never changes. Have a standard email template for common queries. When you remove the need to think, you remove the heaviness. The goal is to become a robot for the first 60 seconds of any task. Robots don't feel heavy, they just execute the code. The importance of self-compassion. Finally, we have to address the way you talk to yourself when you're stuck. If you tell yourself you're lazy, worthless, or behind, you're just adding more bricks to the wall of awful. Negative self-talk activates the brain's threat detection system. It puts you in a fight or flight state. And you can't do a spreadsheet or fold laundry when your brain thinks it's fighting for its life. Self-compassion is actually a productivity tool. Acknowledging that, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now, and that's okay, lowers your cortisol levels. It calms the amygdala. It makes the wall a little shorter. Treating yourself like a friend who is struggling rather than a subordinate who is failing will, ironically, make you much more productive. Reclaiming your mental space. Imagine your mind as a physical room. Every small task you avoid is a piece of clutter. At first, it's just a stray sock. Then it's a stack of newspapers. Eventually, you can't even walk through the room. The heaviness you feel is the mental gymnastics you have to perform just to navigate around the clutter. You are spending more energy avoiding the tasks than you would spend doing them. When you complete a small task, you aren't just getting that thing done. You are reclaiming a square foot of your mental room. You are giving yourself space to breathe, to create, and to actually relax. True relaxation isn't scrolling through your phone while feeling guilty about a chore. True relaxation is sitting in a clean room, mentally and physically, knowing that your open tabs are closed. The 10-minute reset. If you feel completely overwhelmed right now, if the heaviness is at an all-time high, use the 10-minute reset. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Your only goal is to touch as many small tasks as possible. Don't finish them if they're big. Just send that one text. Put that one dish in the dishwasher. Pick up the shoes. The goal is to show your brain that these threats are actually manageable. Often, you'll find that once the 10 minutes are up, the heaviness has vanished and you're ready to keep going. But even if you stop at 10 minutes, you've done more than you would have if you'd stayed in paralysis. The long game. Living a life where small tasks don't feel heavy isn't about becoming a different person. It's about understanding your biology and working with it. It's about realizing that your brain is trying to protect you from effort and gently showing it that the effort is safe. As you move forward, remember, 1. Lower the bar. 2. Focus on the first physical movement. 3. Externalize the load by writing it down. And 4. Forgive yourself for the delay. You are not your productivity. You are not your to-do list. But you deserve to live a life that doesn't feel like you're wading through molasses. You deserve the lightness that comes from a clear mind. Today's small win. So today's small win is the clear the deck maneuver. Pick one, just one task that has been sitting on your mental to-do list for more than 3 days. It has to be something that takes less than 5 minutes. Maybe it's a text you haven't replied to, a bill you need to pay, or a pile of mail on the counter that you've been walking past. Don't wait for the right time. The right time is a myth. Set a timer for 3 minutes. Do it right now. Don't do it perfectly. Don't worry about the next thing. Just get it out of your open tabs. Feel that tiny hit of dopamine when the loop finally closes. That feeling isn't just relief, it's your brain getting its power back. Once you do that one thing, notice how the air feels just a little bit lighter. If this gave you clarity today, let me know in the comments. I read through each comment and it helps me create more videos that can benefit you. Like and subscribe for more tools to help your brain work with you, not against you.